Hey guys, it's Steve Corness, and welcome to our first edition of our Commonwealth Journal Sports Show. This is sort of a weekly podcast. Each week I'll try to feature a couple of guests, some athletes, some coaches. This week I have a couple of little special videos to show, and I think you'll sort of enjoy these. I've actually got these off social media that some parents I have posted, and let me tell you, parents, thank you for posting stuff you do on whether it be Facebook or Snapchat or Twitter. For a journalist like myself, it's just great to have this stuff that we can use, and in both situations the parents are gracious enough to let me to use this so I can show to y'all. We're going to interview Johnny Hines, talk to him a little bit about his season, having a great season so far. He's been ranked in state all year. When the RPIs come out, the RPI ratings, he was ranked 5th in Class 5A. We'll talk about his program. The first one is a softball player that burst onto the scene last spring as a freshman. Her name is Jasmine Peavy. Throughout the summer, she's just been playing softball. But interesting enough, this fall, she played in a baseball fall league at Pulaski County Park, and let's just watch this video. Great video, and this shows you the kind of talent she has. Okay, we got Jasmine Peavy here, and when we saw this video, you just hit a grand slam home run. Just sort of talk about, set up this, what happened in this game.
Well, we were down 5 runs, I think, and they was all pitching balls, and then they got up to 3-0, and the catcher was, Peavy, you're not going to hit a grand slam right here. And then I was like, all right, we'll see. And then next pitch comes, and I just swung, and I hit it.
How did you get involved in a boys' baseball league? I mean, how did you get started out in the first place?
Well, I grew out of that league, and I've been playing since T-ball, first night till, and like it just kills me not to be playing. So one day they were playing baseball, and then they needed an extra player, so of course I volunteered.
Wow, can you believe that? Jasmine Peavy is just a tremendous athlete. I saw her play softball for David Dorsey's Somerset Lady Jumpers last spring, and looking forward to seeing her this coming spring. She's a super athlete, and that's just a great story. The other story I got is sort of a little video I saw posted by Charlie Crawford of CC Furniture, and she videoed this Somerset Youth Football League game of a little guy named Drew Anderson. And Drew Anderson is the younger brother of Audrey Anderson, who was an all-state track and soccer player who is now playing Division I soccer at Eastern Kentucky. And this is just a great video here. Just watch it, and you'll see if you see.
Fumble on the play, recover.
Now that's a fumble recovery, I tell you what. And the great thing about this video is number one, at that level, he's a third grader, and sometimes a third grade, they're just sort of learning the intricacies of the game, the handoffs, the passing, but he seems to be a little bit ahead of some of the other kids on the field, and so he took the advantage of a kid trying to do a slow handoff, and he just took it and ran in the end zone. The second thing about this was that he had a great touchdown celebration, which that's big to have that. The third thing is, though, these little guys get to play on Somerset's new turf field, and it has to be an amazing feeling for them to be able to do that. It's great watching them play on that. It makes them look like they're NFL players as opposed to a youth league team. So they're very fortunate, and we're very fortunate that we get to see that, and I'm sure those kids just love it. And Drew is one of the kids that he's on that little purple field behind the goal post on Friday nights when the big Briar Jumpers are playing. So he really loves that field. I know he does, and him and all his buddies are out there. And so remember that name, because in a few Fridays, it'll be a little while, but pretty soon, on the Friday night, you'll be seeing Drew Anderson probably running for some touchdowns and celebrating in that purple and gold end zone. on Friday nights.
All right, we're here with Johnny Hines, Pulaski County football. Talk about Pulaski County football. You've had it's been halfway in the season, but you got to play your first home game. Talk about that. That was sort of a special night.
It was. It's exciting always to play at home. Obviously, we love playing here at PC Stadium. We have great crowds and great electricity. But it was special in that we were also able to entertain a lot of the North area Pulaski County Youth Football League teams. This is the 25th year of our PCYFL, and that's been exciting to watch them grow and become the great league that they have. And so we're able to entertain those young kids, those Shotwell Tigers and Pulaski Mustangs and Northern Maroons and Eubank Bulldogs and all those kids that will eventually grow up and be Maroons. So it was an exciting night.
And it was so neat. I mean, when I know on the one touchdown that Tristan Cox had, all the kids were out there in the end zone, and he was giving high fives down the road. And it's got to be special for you all and special for the kids, too, to have something like that.
It is. It's a neat atmosphere. And like I say, we bring the kids in early. They come in the locker room when our players are getting dressed, and they're sit in on our meetings. They're out on the field during pregame warm-ups and kind of get a feel for what it's like at a high school football game. And so I know our current players remember when they did that as kids, when they were in the youth league, and that's a big deal to them. So it's fun night.
Here's a little PC Waffle guy you might remember. 2005, Pulaski Mustangs.
That's got to be Jake Johnson.
That's Jake Johnson, and
Yeah.
he probably sat in the end zones there a few times. And
He did, and I know there are certain players that we have currently that remember when they were young and and they were youth league, and their heroes at that time were the Jake Johnsons and the Riley Halls and those guys that were players at that time. So, it's really neat to see that come around and see those young kids grow up and become high school football players, and they remember the guys that they emulated.
I'm putting this picture up on the screen, but he's sitting on a helmet. Is that a no-no?
It is around us.
Would you bench, as your senior year, would you bench Jake Johnson for sitting on his helmet?
We might have run him after practice. I doubt we'd bench him.
Maybe say him out on first down or something.
No, we won't sit him out. We'll fuss at him a little bit.
And going into Jake Johnson, going to our next one, you got another Jake playing for you right now, and he had a special night Friday night. Talk about that a little bit.
Jake Sloan became the second all-time leading receiver in the history of Kentucky high school football behind Jake Johnson. So we are very privileged to.
So you're second in state, but you're also second school history too. So that's sort of a
It's
tough one to follow.
It is, but it's a thrill for us to say that there's two Maroons at the top of that list. That's really neat. But Jake Sloan's had a fabulous career, and of course we've had those two guys kind of back to back. They played together when Jake Johnson was a senior and Jake Sloan was a freshman. They both were starters on our team, and so to see that kind of continuity and that kind of receiver at that position for the last, I guess, 7 seasons is really incredible. And then the numbers they put up are just mind-boggling.
And he's on the list and some other like yardage stuff like that. So he's going to move up. So he'll be pretty high on a lot of the list in the state records once his career is over.
He will. He'll be extremely high and maybe even be the all-time state leader in some areas as far as a single season. I know I think he landed in the top 2 or 3 last season with his statistics from the season. So just had a glorious career. We're happy for Jake. He's a great kid and does a great job on the field and off the field. And we're thrilled that he's going to have an opportunity to get to go on and play. He's already committed to Eastern Kentucky University to play football for the Cardinals, and we wish him luck. Look forward to seeing him play up there.
It's sort of amazing he did this because his freshman year he was sort of handicapped because he was having to play behind Jake Johnson, so you probably didn't get a lot of touches and stuff like that his freshman year.
I'll tell you a good story about Jake Sloan that tells you what kind of competitor he is. That year you're talking about, he started at their ex-receiver, which is the opposite side of the field of Jake Johnson. Jake Johnson was a senior. Jake Sloan was a freshman. We played at Madison Southern, and the game came down to a last few minutes before it was decided, and we scored and had to go for a 2-point conversion to win the game. And so we ran a play that we had confidence in, threw the ball to Jake Johnson, got the 2-point conversion. Well, Jake Sloan was a little upset that he didn't get the call as a freshman, so that tells you what kind of competitor he is, that he wanted the ball in that situation. And he's been a terrific player his whole career.
You don't make that mistake now, do you?
No, oh no. Matter of fact, I reminded him of that story this summer before we started the season, and I said, you know, when the game's on the line, it's Jake Sloan time. You realize that now, don't you?
You know, and looking at these records, it was amazing. Of course, you know, the quarterback, you had Wiley Kane and Riley Hall, and then even a little bit farther down the list, you got the John Cole from Somerset, and then the guy that you played with, Alan Sexton. So it's just amazing this area has just produced so many great football players. When you look at the Trinities and St. X's and the Highlands, and you know, Pulaski County has got as many on the list as those teams.
That's true. It's a great football town. It always has been, from going way back to our era, you know, way back a long time ago. I won't say how many years ago. But I think Alan Sexton may have graduated in 81 or 82. I don't know exactly.
79, I think.
And you know, I think he was the all-time leader in the state at the time he graduated,
Really?
if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's for sure, but might have to double check that. But yeah, great player. John Cole, what an incredible career he had. It says a lot for the type of football players and the type of football programs that are in this town.
Now, I looked at one of your photos up here, and it was the 2009, which is 10 years ago, and that was sort of when all got started. You won your first district, and you happened to go and win your first region, so and it sort of snowballed from there. Just talk about that, just the progression of those 10 years that you've seen happen in Pulaski football.
Well, it's been a long growth process, you know, here at PC. Going back even earlier than that, we were district runner-up in 03 and 04 with some really good teams, and also region runner-up with some teams that just couldn't beat Boyle County back in those early days when Chuck Smith had the dynasty at Boyle County, and I think they won 150 games in a row, whatever it was. And so we were very close to being a high-level team then and couldn't get out of the district. We were district runner-up in 07 and 08 with some really good teams and had a chance to win the district. So it was exciting the first time. And you know, as you go through these things, Steve, we always felt like that you have a dream of what you want to accomplish out there. And as you get closer to it, where you can really feel like you're almost there, it becomes a goal. And then once you achieve that, it kind of becomes an expectation. And I think that's where we've come over the last several years. You know, if we don't, and I don't mean to say this in any kind of braggadocious style, but if we don't win our district or if we don't win the region, it's kind of, well, what's wrong with Pulaski?
Mm-hmm.
You know, a few years ago we played at, just to give you an example of that, we played at Lincoln County. I think it was the fourth or fifth game of the year. We were undefeated at the time. I think we were ranked in the top 4 or 5 in the state. And we didn't play a particularly good game. We were very sloppy and flat. And don't mean to say anything against Lincoln County, but they were struggling. They didn't have a very good team. And we won the game 31-0, something like that. And after the game, the very first questions that were asked by media folks, not you, but several media folks, were, what's wrong with Pulaski?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, we won 31-0.
Right.
So the expectations come with that. And so that makes it tough in some ways, but it's been a great run. You know, to see kids achieve those great things and win those championships, district and region and Seminole State, and go to state championship games. It's as much a thrill for me to see how the kids react to that as it is to be a part of it myself.
Right. Switching gears here, we've talked about this in nauseam over the past couple of weeks, but the RPI rating, it's a new rating that the KHA has come out with. It's sort of going to decide regional titles. Let me ask you that, and that's something that confused me. How is there going to be so-called a regional championship now? I mean, because you may be playing a team, Highlands or whatever, in the regional title game, which.
Well, it's still. I'm not sure I can answer the question. First of all, the RPI. You got to be a math major to figure out how it works. Because
I do have the formula. There it is. Has all your players memorized that formula?
Yeah, we got that down. But it's very frustrating to sit back and let somebody figure out on paper how good a team you are as opposed to just playing your way through things. But the thing that bothers us is that once you get a ranking, the higher ranking teams get to host those late round playoff games and the lower ranking teams get to travel. And that's always been a burr under our saddle because, you know, we jokingly, half-jokingly, call ourselves the Rodney Dangerfield team, that we don't get the respect we should get. And I don't mean that to be in a mean way, but when it comes to 5A football this year and they rank those teams at the end of the year, you've got Covenant Catholic, you've got Fort Thomas Highlands, you've got Frederick Douglass now, who's the new big kid on the block in 5A in Scott County who dropped down to 5A. He's always been a 6A power. Well, those 4 teams are terrific teams, and rightfully so. There's not a scenario where Pulaski County is going to be ranked above them.
Right, because you were ranked 5th in the state, but you're 4th in that 5 through 8 grouping. So if it were to play out the way it was, you'd be on the road.
And that's the frustrating part. We're on the road after round 2. So all those great region championship games that we've had here. You know, we had one here with Southwestern last year. You know, we played North Laurel going back years ago in 03 and 04. I talked about when we played Bull County in those region title games. We'll never have a chance to host a region title game again, or a semi-state game as we did last year. You know, those Thanksgiving weekend games are very special. The first one when we beat Cooper, you know, to make it to the state championship game. And then in 2016, we beat South Oldham in a wild and crazy game that everybody remembers that was here to watch. So that's frustrating to little county schools like us, maybe, that are never going to get that glamorous position to be one of those top teams to get to host those games. So that's why I don't like it. And that's just me. That's just my beef. And it may work itself
But plus,
out.
there's really nothing you can control, because you got your game percentage, you know, which you can control that somewhat. But then you got your opponent's games. You don't know, you know, how they're going to win or lose. And then you go to your opponent's opponents. So it's like going to teams I may be playing in China. You know, you just it's just you can't
And the other
control
thing that bothers me about that really does bother me, is that you get less credit for winning a game over a smaller school as opposed to a larger school. And so they're trying to, you know, to force you to schedule up, I guess, is what they want you to do for that to be higher. But an example is we beat Wayne County on the road at Wayne County. I think Wayne County's a very good football team, and it was all we could do to win that game. It's a good win for us. We beat Corbin at Corbin, which is a very tough football team and a very tough place to play. Those are big wins for us. But in the RPI, that's not going to help us because they're smaller schools. They're 4A schools. And so, to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense, because these are games that we've played for a long time. We've played Wayne County for years, hope to continue for years. It's always been a good rivalry. We've played Corbin off and on for many years. It's always a good game. And so for us to win, to beat those teams, that's a big deal. It takes a great team and a great effort. Well, that should count more. The way I look at it, they're ranked very high in 4A. Both of those are top 10 teams in 4A right now. But because they're 4A and we're 5A, it counts against us.
And plus, if you're like a Class A team and you say, okay, I'm going to schedule up and I'm going to play 5 6A teams, which they may beat you all, that's 0 times the number, so you're getting no credit for playing a strong team. If you get beat, you know, and you're trying to play up and you're trying to play you know, say a Williamsburg trying to play Trinity, well, you know, they're probably not going to win it, but hey, we played a big team, but, you know, sorry for your luck, you don't get no points.
Yeah. And there's still a lot of gray areas in that formula that a lot of us don't understand. You know, we can't control it, so we're going to try not to worry about it. We'll just let it play itself out and see what happens.
So being in football and you being in circles, I mean, do you know why they went for this system as opposed to the old system?
I have no idea. And I don't think many of the coaches around the state really knew this was coming. It was kind of just handed down to us that they were going to do it this way. Now, they've talked for years about revamping the playoffs as far as where you play. You know, for years there was conversation about playing those semi-state games at college stadiums and take away the home field advantage. They wanted to play something like at EKU or at Murray
Basketball
State
sort of does that somewhat if the
which I
facility's
can
available.
kind of understand that. You're talking about a much bigger crowd, obviously, that would come, and that takes away home field advantage, which may or may not be something you want to look at. But it gets frustrating to us, especially us old school football coaches who've been around a long time. Once you get something set and it seems to work out just fine, then here come folks that are not involved in football that change it all. And sometimes, you know, we just want to say, leave it alone. Just leave it alone.
So we're against this. Coach, one last thing. I know you've been in sports and you've been on teams and been in team pictures. I may have your first team photo ever. This is circa 1966 or 67. Kindergarten.
Wow.
Me and you on the back row.
Yep. Oh, my goodness.
I think Danny Pageant plays in football, didn't he?
Danny Paget, that's right. Let's see, this is Robin
Gifford.
Chevron now, yeah.
Mike Holt.
Fran Burton, Mike Holt.
I ran track.
And I shouldn't have started naming names. Everybody will be mad that I don't name them. Oh, my, that's I can't believe you've got a picture like that. That goes way, way back.
And we sort of switch haircuts. Now I've got the Burr haircut. Now you've got the mullet. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. was, what year did you say that was?
Probably 1966 or 1967. It was right there at the First Methodist Church, which is still there, and
Gotta be.
Yeah.
Gotta be. Wow.
Coach, thanks a lot, man. That's yours to keep, man.
Appreciate it, Steve.
Thanks.
Thank you.